It's now 7:10 in Antigua and Barbuda. This is your wake-up call presented by Twin Island Media on 94.1 FM. We're also streaming on Facebook Live and on the TuneIn app. Joining us now in studio, I'm pleased to say, is Antigua and Barbudan travel vlogger Alyssa Derrick. She is better known by her online persona, Global Gyal. Did I do that right, Alyssa?
You did. Not many people outside of the Caribbean do, so it's nice to hear it pronounced correctly.
Yes. No, she's an online content creator, and her content comes directly from the places she visits and the persons that she meets. On her website, she writes, and I quote, "To my Caribbean people, this is to show ourselves that we can travel to more places in the world than New York City." And that is very, very true, even for those of us who love to go to New York City, because it's just a quick 3.5, 4 hour hop. Mm-hmm. And then for anyone who's been following her online, she has most recently been posting videos about her journey through Colombia. That's, of course, a country on the northern portions of South America. We're very happy and honored to have her joining us in studio. Alyssa, good morning. Welcome to Wake Up Call.
Thank you
First
very
time.
much. Yes,
First time.
it is.
And we had a chit chat just the other day in a different space, and I said, hey, we need to catch up. I didn't realize it was going to be this soon.
I know, but I'm very, very happy for it. I'm happy to be here, happy to be back home, and happy to just share my story with an update with the Antiguan people.
All right. Hopefully we'll get the cameras sorted out so the listeners can see the radio that they're listening to. All right, especially on Facebook. Now, tell us, how did this entire journey start, this whole idea of travel vlogging?
So travel vlogging kind of started as a way to update my family when I was traveling. So the travel bug bit me after graduating from university overseas, and I said I want to see more of the world, so I decided to come back home and save and do that. But when I decided that I was going to move to my new country to start that journey, my family and friends were like, oh, you need to keep me updated. Oh, you need to do this. And I realized there was a lot of people. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to start a blog, start writing, update my stuff, and people can see it from there. And then eventually it kind of evolved where people were following me, and then somebody gave me the idea to do YouTube. They're like, you're really funny. You need to post this on YouTube. I had no idea about editing. I was very, very intimidated. But I took my time. I started. And now, going on 6 years later, I have a YouTube channel and a website and Instagram and TikTok and everything. And it's all about global Gyal and traveling.
It's like a whole organization.
Yes, almost.
How did this travel bug hit you? Tell us about the bug biting you.
Sure, I think,
situation.
To be honest, I think it was biting me like as a child. I was fortunate enough where my mom would take us to the U.S., to the East Coast. So I'd done New York and stuff like that before. But it was at university where I went to the third largest university in Canada, which had about 52,000 students. So first of all, that was almost half the size of Antigua and Barbuda. So that hit me. And it was a very multicultural school, and they would have multicultural weeks. So they had lots of clubs. There was the Caribbean club, the Nigerian club, the Indian club, the this, the that, and all international students just like me. And I met them, and I realized, hey, you're such a cool person, but we're all going home for Christmas, going back to our countries and then coming back. So I realized... So that kind of had it hit me, but then it was when I was walking through the halls and I saw a map of the world. And I looked on this map and I looked at where I was in Canada. And then I searched, pull out my microscope to search for Antigua and Barbuda for this little dot and my region, the Caribbean region. And then I zoomed out again and I just saw, hey, I know somebody who comes from this part. I know somebody who comes from this part. I want to go visit them. Like, Canada has been such a great experience. I know where I'm from, but there's so much more to the world. So that's kind of where I decided I'm going to do this. And I wanted to do a study abroad at school to South Africa. I never got to do it, but I didn't let that deter me. When I graduated, I stayed, I worked, I saved, and I took a trip to South Africa. And after that, game over. I was like, I have to continue to do this.
You went to Table Mountain?
I did go to Table Mountain. I got a very nice view. And South Africa was where, again, I expected one thing and then it gave me something else. But I saw in Cape Town just how beautiful the world is. Or I was reminded, and how magnanimous this mountain, this Table Mountain is, where this developed city is. And, you know, it's kind of like, okay, mankind can do its thing, but nature reigns, you know, and it would just always humbles you. Yeah, and reminds you of that. And I was just like, I want to see more of the world. I want to see more of this. I want to be humbled every time I look.
So South Africa was the first country you traveled to?
South Africa was the first country.
Outside of Canada and...
no, it wasn't the first country outside of that, because I traveled a little bit when I was younger. But my first major solo travel was South Africa.
That's what I meant.
Yes,
all right.
yes.
So that's where this particular journey began?
Yes. That's where I met someone who had been traveling by herself and told me she just moved back or was living in New Zealand for 1 year. And the only time I ever heard about New Zealand was for cricket. And I was like, you in New Zealand by yourself? And she was like, yeah, I had an amazing time. And so I just looked more into that. And honestly, when I spoke to other people, I was like, oh, you know, I'd like to visit New Zealand. They're like, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And they tell you with their eyes, you know. So I was like, you know what? I've heard of this country twice in my life. It was never on my radar. Why not? And so 2 years, I moved back, saved in Antigua and Barbuda, and then I decided 2 years later to move to New Zealand. And that's kind of what...
How things took off.
Yeah.
All right. Now, in terms of this experience of traveling and traveling by yourself, because I've known of women in particular, some men, but somehow women seem to, I don't know, something about traveling alone. Is that not an intimidating thing, to be a woman and to be... I mean, some women here don't want to go under the bonnet of their car, let alone travel the world on their own. So how do you manage that?
I will be completely honest. The thought never crossed my mind, probably until I came back. I mean, moving in the world as a woman, you have to be aware, regardless. So whether I'm in Antigua and Barbuda or anywhere else, I have to always watch my back because of just how things are.
Unfortunately.
However, that never once crossed my mind of, should I not travel here because it's dangerous? Or I should say, if it did, I was encouraged by my friends and my family to don't pay attention to that. Like, just do what you want to do. I can remember a specific instance going to South Africa. I think one family member was saying, it's super dangerous. You know, I don't know about you going.
They do have an astronomical crime rate.
Yes,
to be fair.
yes. And
so their concern was not misplaced.
Yeah, and then my dad too, he met somebody here from South Africa, and he was telling him, oh, my daughter is going to leave to go to South Africa soon. The South African was like, oh, it's super dangerous. The rape rate is so high, and da-da-da-da. And my dad was like...
Just the thing that dad wants to hear, right?
I know, and I give him props because he was like, you know what, I'm telling you this, but I still think you should go.
Okay.
I still think you should go. I still think you should do this. And then in all honesty as well, connections have made it have given me way more comfort and way more just solid in that I'm going to travel and somebody will be there to look after me. Like if I'm in trouble, I can make a phone call. And it's not connections that I thought I had. It's not connections that I knew I had, but I ended up having them. And that is something that has carried me through and made me feel safe traveling as a solo traveler. And then in the opportunities where I may or may not have had the connections, I'm like, I'm still going to go anyways because I've done this before and I can do this. And I've met other women along the line who, especially in my last travel to Colombia, who are doing exactly what I've been doing. And it's kind of like I found my tribe. So I was no longer the odd one out. Everybody else, if anything, I'm the calm one because I'm back here home and they're now traveling to Croatia. They're sending pictures from Italy and they're doing this. And they're like, who's coming to Asia? And I'm like, y'all are living your best lives, you know? And you know what? I was on that train. And I'm going to join you again.
You're going to rejoin the train.
Yeah.
Now, how many countries have you tried? Let's go through the list. How many countries have you been to?
Have I?
Or could you name the countries you've
Yes,
been to?
I can name the countries that I've lived in for this global Gyal journey.
Okay,
yes,
that's fine.
So I started in New Zealand, and then I moved to Australia, and then I moved to Ghana, and then I moved to Colombia.
So, of those countries, which one? You know, I'm going to ask you, which one is closest to your heart? Which one did you enjoy the most fulfilling or enriching experience?
I always say that's an extremely difficult question
But you get
because
asked it all the time. Asked it all the time.
each one I went to at a different point in my life, and each one had a major impact and played a major role. New Zealand was me going to the end of the earth almost by myself, but I not only survived, I thrived. I felt like I left that country having a family, and a Caribbean family at that. I went and a Dominican woman put me up. She picked me up from the airport, and I lived in her house for an entire year. Mo, shout outs to Mo. I was living with a Jamaican, a Vincentian, and I had no idea. And I mean, I had no idea that I would meet these people and that I would come across this and feel like I have a family and be able to set up myself and survive so far away. At 24, I moved at 24 years old. Australia, beautiful country. And again, I ended up moving in with a family that I met on Facebook, through Facebook, as their au pair. And I honestly, the kid that I was looking after, he's basically like my little brother. And that's where I spent COVID. And I was never scared or never doubted, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Because I know these people had my back. So that was also very comforting. Ghana was just a whole other experience. I was a bit more on my own in terms of living by myself for the first time. Solo, but then still managing to meet people and connect. And I describe Ghana as the Caribbean on steroids. So, you know, it's good when it's good, but it's not so good when it's not so good. But I was still able to pull through in that instance. And then Colombia, I don't speak the language. And I don't know what the word is, but I went there thinking with my English privilege that I would be able to survive just on English. I'm like, people must know English. But everybody speaks Spanish, and you gotta adapt. But I still came out, and I ended up learning a bit more Spanish than when I arrived. So each one just left an imprint on me, and so that's I can't answer that one. They all left a great mark on my heart.
Very, very, very important. A very smart answer. Let me ask you, how do you determine where you're gonna go next?
It might sound odd, but I just listen to my heart, listen to kind of put it out there. So when I was in New Zealand was just because, well, not just because, but because it was so out of my radar, and I went. And then Australia was because Australia's right next to New Zealand. Why not type of thing. I was only supposed to spend 3 months. I ended up spending almost 2 years. But it was after that where I realized I'm already in Australia. That's one continent down. I went to school in Canada, so I'd done North America. Australia's right next to Asia. Asia's right next to Africa. Africa's kind of next to South America. South America's next to my home. So I kind of made up my mind that I would do a country in a different continent.
Right.
But
you haven't done Asia yet, though. Did I hear Asia somewhere?
No, I haven't. That was COVID. COVID was supposed... Well, 2020 was supposed to be Asia, yeah. So that's why I stayed a bit longer in Australia. So I kind of just... And how Australia even happened is somebody came to me and was like, you should go to Australia. But then another person came to me and another. And so I was like, maybe I should go to Australia. Something's telling me to go. And then for Australia, the family that I was living with, they were going to take a vacation to Thailand. So I was like, I could go on vacation with them and then just stay in Thailand and do Asia. And I mean, that didn't work out. But then Ghana too, I was actually looking at Djibouti in Africa because they spoke French. And then I realized, okay, I don't want to do East Africa. So I looked at West. But eventually, things just happened to guide me to Ghana, where a friend that I went to university with, they are Ghanaian, so they were able to connect me with people and stuff like that. So it's kind of just, even Colombia, my Colombian story is actually hilarious because I started telling people I want to go to South America. I'm looking at Costa Rica. I heard it was beautiful. And people had told me Colombia was beautiful. And more people were like, Colombia is amazing. You should go. And then my uncle, he told me Burning Flames performed in Colombia in the 1980s, and Colombians loved them. So much so that when they went to Miami and they performed, Colombians came out so much they had to block off the street, and it was in the Miami Herald newspaper. And after that, I was like, done. Colombia. Bet. I'm going to Colombia. They love Burning Flames. They will love another Antigua. So it's just things like that sense. Where, I choose the region. You have to be what is it? Strong with your goals, but flexible with your plans. That's a quote from somebody that I don't know. Yeah. But so that's what it is. I know what continent I want to go to or what region, but I'm not necessarily stuck on what country. And it's just, however it comes through. You may say, hey, you're going to Africa. I have a cousin in Kenya. You should reach out to them. I'm like, all right, guess I'm going to Kenya. Or if somebody else says that, then that's where I'm going.
Your experience in Africa particularly interests me. Ghana, specifically, because so much of it seems very much like how we live here in the Caribbean, specifically
1,000%.
Antigua.
Yeah.
But the eating with the fingers.
Yeah.
And the fufu. I
Yeah.
never forget that fufu thing.
The pounding of the fufu.
The pounding
Yes.
of the fufu
Yes.
and eating it with the fingers
Yes.
and so on. Very enriching experience, yeah?
Yes, and at first it struck me, and again, just a perfect example of why I love travel, because for me here in Antigua in the Caribbean, the norm is to eat with a knife and fork. Well, unless you're in Trinidad where they eat certain things with their hands as well. And so I'm just assuming everywhere else does that. But in Ghana and in a lot of other countries around the world, their norm is for the hands. Don't you dare eat fufu with a knife and fork.
Sacrilege.
Exactly. And then come to find out, they're sharing huge bowls of it and 4 people are eating, but it's so normal. So it's do as the Romans do. But then when you think about it, a lot of them are like, it's actually cleaner than eating with a knife and fork, because you always, no matter how big or small or fancy or non-fancy this place is, there's always somewhere to wash your hands before and after. And they're like, I know where my hands have been. I know my hands have been washed before I eat this food. Knife and fork, I don't know what these people do with it. So they're like, and I'm like, you know what? People on the other side would say the same thing about your hands with a knife and fork. But you know what?
Yes, because you don't know who is dipping in that bowl to wash their hands.
Exactly. No, you sit on there. They literally bring it to you, and you watch everybody wash their hands.
Okay.
So
you
definitely
It's a case of trust but verify.
Yes. Exactly.
Immediate verification.
Yeah, but things like fufu, for Ghana,
which is kind of like fungi. Very
yes,
similar to fungi.
The word sounds like fungi, but the ingredients are a bit different.
Okay.
So fufu is, I think it's not cassava. It might be cassava with plantain that is pounded. Right. Whereas another dish called banku is with cornmeal.
Okay.
And so yes, yeah. Okay. But banku looks white for some reason, and the fufu looks yellow because of the plantain.
That's why I think
exactly. But the name is still, you can see the similarity. So Ghana was a little bit trippy because I didn't go there thinking, okay, I'm going to find my roots and that kind of stuff. I didn't do that, but I went and ended up doing that regardless, because things were so just so similar. The food, the people, they're so welcoming, they're so warming. They want to, once you Caribbean people, you have to be you have to give customer service to get customer service. Yeah. It's kind of the same down there, but if somebody tells you something and they know something that's very Antiguan, like if a tourist comes in, they're like, oh, can I go to the bread shop? You'll be like, hey, me and you is best friend.
Yes.
It's the same in Ghana. You just say one thing, or you try to learn a little bit of the language, and they're taking you in, or you don't know where to go, what to do. They're like, all right, we got you, type of stuff. So I really enjoyed that. Ghanaians, apparently, when rainfall, they don't want to do nothing. Nobody wants to go to work. I was like, what? This is the same back home. The same. The food. They have okra stew, which is pepper pot, fungi and banku. Fufu and banku, which is like fungi. And then they love to party too every weekend. Oh God, 7 a.m. And then after they're done party and go out and club, they're going for food or they're going to the beach. And I was like, this is home. Yeah.
Amazing stuff. Oh boy. 29 minutes after 7 o'clock. This time is flying by. We're speaking with Global Gyal.
Gyal, yes.
Global Gyal. Of course, her government name is Alyssa Derrick, and we're going to continue with her. She's an Antiguan and Barbudan travel vlogger, and we're certainly very privileged to have her in the studio speaking about her experiences. And we're going to speak a little bit more about what may lie ahead for Global Gyal right after this.
This is the talk of Antigua and Barbuda. Twin Island Media, 94.1 FM.
When I want to keep my bills up to date, but just can't find the time. APUA made it easy to pay my bills online with just one click. Yeah, and my bills them set. Hey. Now me have time to do the things me love best. Yes, cause at APUA I feel so free. To pay my bills is so easy. Just one click and relax. It's easy just like that. Hey. So sign up today and you will see. My happy way made it easy to keep my bills on track. It's easy just like that. Yeah, it's easy just like that.
Visit us online at www.apua.ag and sign up today, just like that.
Are you ready to paint? Casada Paints and Supplies Inc. is the perfect place to start. We are the official distributors of Sherwin-Williams Paints. Sherwin-Williams, with over 150 years of innovation and experience, offers more than 1,500 paint colors to choose from. Our color palettes are handpicked by professional designers, making it easy to coordinate colors throughout your home or business. Visit us on the Utility Drive, Casada Gardens, or call 562-9450. All you have to do is visit or call Casada Paints.
This is the talk of Antigua and Barbuda. Twin Island Media, 94.1 FM.
It's 7:32 in St. John's, Antigua. This is your wake-up call, and I know many of you have awoken, just in case you were a little sleepy moments ago, because some of you are reacting. They want to meet this young lady that I'm speaking to. Darren, I don't know who you're talking to, but I want to meet her. Antigua and Barbuda travel vlogger Alyssa Derrick. That's her government name. She is better known by her online persona, Global Gyal. She has a vibrant YouTube channel. You can just search for Global Gyal and subscribe. So we're encouraging you to go on YouTube and subscribe. She's also present on Facebook, as every self-respecting travel vlogger should, as well as Instagram, where you can see many of her images from her global jaunts. Alyssa, let's tell us, well, I don't know if you are able to chronicle or to share. You said that every country is special in its own way because you would have visited them at a particular point in time in your life that made had a different impact. What was the most memorable for you? Is there a most memorable, or let's say top 3 memorable moments? And if so, what would they be?
That's another
tough question.
How about we do a memorable moment from each country?
That's fine.
So I would say
you could be a global politician. Very smart.
A memorable moment. Oh gosh, it's tied. All right, let me try. I'm gonna try to make it quick, but do for each. It's tied for New Zealand. So one is spending my first. No, it wasn't be my first Christmas away, or maybe it was. But spending Christmas in New Zealand. But I am eating Caribbean food. I'm listening to Caribbean music. People are playing dominoes. And the whole experience was just in this house. And it reminded me so much of my experience back home. So it was kind of like on the other side of the world, experiencing Christmas, but at home kind of feels. The other one would be just before I left, I took a hike. And hiking in Antigua is very different to hiking anywhere else in the world, because Antigua have hills and they have real mountains. And I won't lie, I felt like I was gonna die at some point. I literally halfway through, it was 8 or 9 hours, and once
8 or 9 hours.
Yes. And I literally looked down on one side and I was like, if you slip or fall, you gone, you gone. But I did it, I survived, and I mean, the things that I saw, it was just absolutely beautiful. So that was extremely memorable. Going to Australia and staying with that same family that I met through Facebook. And we ended up doing a family trip to just a northern part of Australia, and I'm thinking of other moments. In any event, we ended up going,
That's okay.
waking up really early, myself and the kid. He was 11 right now. He's 15 going on 16. I'm like, what? Anyways, we woke up, we went hot air ballooning, and I've always wanted to go hot air ballooning as a kid. I was like, Daddy, I want to touch the clouds. And how many ever years later, I finally got to do that, and that was absolutely amazing. And I also took a trip with a friend in a camper van, and we drove to the Australian outback. It wasn't quite what I expected, and it wasn't like just desert all around, but it was desert, and I was like, oh, there's really nothing in the
Did you see
outback.
any dingoes?
Maybe.
Okay, all right. Just wondering.
Maybe.
Just had to throw that one in there.
Yes.
So let's go. Where we going now?
We're going to Ghana. Ghana was going to Ghana. Being connected with a Saint Lucian.
Yes, I remember him.
Yes, being connected with Saint Lucian, and then all of a sudden joining this motorbike gang in Ghana and doing
With the leather jackets and
yes, well they had the leather jackets. I didn't, but it was just not something I ever expected I would be doing. But then every other Sunday, this group of guys, they call me up. They're like, "We're going on a trip, and it should be 3 or 4 hours on a car, but on a bike it's like 2 hours." So we just end up going, and I end up seeing so much of Ghana when I didn't expect it. And again, like they take me under their wing. So we're eating fufu, we're drinking club beer, which is their like national beer. And I'm going to different cities and different areas and different regions. And when you're on a bike, you see it so differently. And just having this experience that I love unexpected experiences. And so that was the most memorable. There's so many trips. We went to a place called Kumasi. It takes 6 to 7 hours in a car. We did it in 3 hours on the bike. And we went there because the president of the association, of the motorbike association, was opening up a catfish place because he sells live catfish, and then they grill it and you cook it and you eat it. Right. So we just literally went up there for a night, slept, woke up, ate some more catfish, and came back. And then I was like, I got to go to the second largest city in Ghana, just
and eat catfish.
And eat catfish. Colombia, I would say, was going to the Amazon. I went to the Amazon. My mother came to visit, and 2 of my aunts. And we took a plane, and I went to the Amazon. And again, I never thought I would be in the Amazon rainforest. I didn't know Colombia had a piece of the Amazon rainforest. But there I was staying and, just on a boat in the water in the Amazon. So those would be my memorable experiences. But I have loads more. So if you want to know more, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel to see.
There we are. Nothing wrong with that. Shameless plug.
Yes.
Your mom. She has been with you to Colombia, as you just mentioned.
Yes.
She's also been with you to Ghana.
To Ghana.
Has there been a moment where she gets worried? I mean, moms will be moms first, and they're always worried. Mommy's always worried. Are there ever any, Alyssa, I really don't think,
No.
Any moment like that? Nothing
no,
like that?
No. My mother's a woman. Shout out to my mom. She don't like stress. She don't pick up stress. If it's there on the table, she's going to avoid it. So she's kind of like, you know what? I'm not gonna worry. She's grown. I've raised her right. She's going out into the world. Once she's not under my roof, she's good to go. So she herself and my dad have never ever told me don't do this or you should just don't. They've never put those thoughts in my head, and I thoroughly appreciate that, and I'm grateful to them. People, this is a word to the wise. What you tell your children sticks. I listen to my parents. I admire my parents. And so with what they could have told me could have changed my entire trajectory of my life. But the words that they put into my mind and my spirit has been move forward, do what you're doing. If this is what you want to do, go ahead and do it. Be safe. But for my mom, she's like, I'm going to be there with you. You just let me know when you're settled and I am coming. And she has been able to explore the world and go to these places. She was supposed to come to New Zealand, but by the time the visa came back, her flight, she should have already left type of thing. But every other country that I've been to, she's visited. And she's like, wherever you're going next. And now she's gotten friends and family to join her as well. And so we have a little small cohort. And I'm like, all right, there's something here. But I love that too. I'm encouraging people to step out of their comfort zone, which is part of the whole point as to why I'm putting it online. To be honest, I'm not an online person. I'm not a social media person. I didn't have Instagram before doing this. But I'm making myself uncomfortable, and I'm recording and I'm posting and I'm learning these new things because I want to encourage others to do this, to step out of their comfort zone. And you don't have to travel the world to do it. You can try a new food, order something on the menu that you never thought that you would have ordered at wherever it is that you're getting food from. And it will
try a little something new, try a little something different,
yes,
try a little something no
exactly.
one else has done or something
drive,
like that.
take another route home from work, take the right instead of the left. And yeah, it'll plant the seed and you'll go. So I encourage you those two things.
How has it changed or impacted you, these global travels?
It's made me more aware of the fact that, and going back to what I said before, my norm is not the norm of others. My norm is not the norm of other people in the world. And so you kind of have to take a step back when it comes to things. It's like you don't know everything. You think you know everything, but it's completely different elsewhere. So take a step back, observe, and then move into things. It's also taught me to trust people, to believe in the good in people. People are kind, people are nice, and it's people all over the world. They are. I think, especially sometimes in our society, we're taught that that's not the case. We're taught that it's, fight for yourself. It's you as an individual. But no, there are people out there in this world that just want to help. They just want you to have a good time. They just want you to enjoy your time in their country, and they will do their best to make that happen. So it's taught me that, and then it's taught me to be a kind person, because you never know what other people are going through in their lives, but they're still trying to do their best to make sure you have a great time, so you have to extend the same courtesy. So it's just taught me so much, I guess, about being a world citizen. We're way more connected than we think. With Ghana, that was a perfect example. Even with Colombia had a lot of similarities, I felt like, to the Caribbean, but just the fact that we don't speak the same language, but I feel like as though that shouldn't stop us. So just reaching out to people and connecting. And
I'm listening to you and speaking about our common humanity. Now, we're in the news business here at Twin Island, at least in part. We do, obviously, human interest things like this, which is important to have that balance. But when we pay attention to the news, and I'm into a lot of the geopolitical goings on, and when you watch the news, you kind of think, but good grief, you wonder humanity is going to destroy itself. What I'm hearing you say is no, there are good people in the world, and perhaps more good people than bad. Does your global travel help you to process the negative that you see in the world, and if so, how does it do that? If you understand my question.
I do. It helps me to, I guess, when you get that bad, let's say, feed or energy from the news and what you see that's really happening, it's almost like a scale. So that's coming, but that's coming with a 5 pounds. But then when you step out of your house in a new country, not knowing anybody, but the grocery store lady is taking her time to be patient with you while you try to struggle with your Spanish, or somebody in Ghana is like extending a courtesy if you don't have the extra dollar or two, like that tips the scale way more on the positive side to help that. And then in general, in the way that you put it, I'm seeing it as there are fewer bad people, but they just are in the positions to determine things. But in at least around the people that I'm around, they're not wanting it to be that way, and there are also more of them. So it's a question of, why are these people in those positions to be able to guide our world in the way that it's going? Why aren't more of us who are on this positive side, or who actually want better for our country, for our region, for our entire world? Why aren't we in these positions, or why aren't they in these positions, So I guess it just brings that question to mind.
Alyssa, Derek, I could speak to you for the rest of the entire program. This has been absolutely fascinating. I hope that the listeners are equally enriched.
I hope so too.
And just to remind all the listeners, how can they follow your
Definitely.
travels? And have you determined where you're going to next, by the way?
I have
that one in
not.
there. Oh, okay.
It's too early to say.
We'll talk about it at Breakfast Fed.
There we go. too early to say.
So tell me, how can our listeners?
You can follow me, Global Gyal, Gyal. Everybody in the Caribbean knows how to spell that. On YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You'll see all the stories, all the videos from all the different places that I've mentioned on this interview, then on Facebook, then on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok. And I will also be in Antigua for the next 6 months till the remainder of the year. So if you would like to reach out, if you'd like me to come and talk to your class at school, if you'd like me to do a presentation, if you want to feature me on something, I am more than open to doing that, because I could talk about my travels all day and how it has impacted me, and I would like to encourage other people to do the same. So Global Gyal on everything, even my email address, globalgyal@gmail.com. So just Google, subscribe, share, like, and spread the word. Tell everybody about Global Gyal.
Antiguan and Barbudan travel vlogger Alyssa Derrick, better known by, well, she just said it, Global Gyal. Thank you so very much for
Thank you for
joining
having
us
me.
on Wake Up
Thank
Call.
you very much.
It's been an honor. All right, it's now time for the second news top-up here on Wake Up Call, and after that,